Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Guys, now we continue our discussions this morning, and we are still talking about that UK visa restriction that has been placed on Trinidad and Tobago. But this morning, just in case you have had plans of traveling to the UK, whether it be, for the summer or for the Christmas period, or if traveling back and forth to England is something that you usually do, you may be needing some visa application assistance. This morning, we are speaking with the owner of Purity Visa Services, Mrs. Jody Melville-Nimblett, and we are talking about that visa application to the UK. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you for having me. The UK visa process is very tedious. For something that was implemented so quickly, it is very tedious. So let us go to the requirements of the visa, should I? So you would definitely need an invitation letter from the person in the UK. Yes, you would definitely need an invitation letter.
Now, I've heard about invitation letters before,
Right.
but usually invitation letters substitute your ability to cover the cost of your trip.
Right.
So are you saying to me that if I just wake up and I'm like, you know what, I just want to go to London for...
Well, then you have to book a hotel.
All right, okay.
You must have the hotel name, address, and telephone.
Okay.
Because they are asking for your accommodation details.
Okay. So
All
it's
right.
either or.
It's either or.
Okay.
But we know that majority of persons that go to the UK have family members. So even if you have been to the UK before, now, because of the new implementation, you would definitely need an invitation letter. And also the person's passport number in the UK. They're also asking you if the person is permanent in the UK. So those are the information that you would need to find out before you even start the application.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Definitely your job letters, your bank statements. You would definitely need a credit card to pay the fees online because it's an online application.
Only.
So you're not seeing a counselor, you have to do this online.
The entire process is online.
The entire process is online. The only thing that is not online is your biometrics. So you would need to take biometrics in Trinidad. And I can also give you the address. It's in number 1 Woodbrook Place. It's the same place, actually, if you have done a Canadian visa before, that you go and you do your biometrics there. All right?
Okay, so this is one of those visas where you mail in or upload all the
Well, you upload all your documents.
All the documents, and there's
all
no
your supported documents.
There's no interview.
There is no interview unless they require one from you. They would email you and tell you where to go if they need further information from you.
Excellent. And even as they ask whether or not someone is permanent or a temporary resident, I guess from your view personally, because you might not know, if you have someone who is probably going to school in the UK who has a temporary resident permit as a family member, I'm guessing you should also be able to visit those persons.
Yes, you can. Once they have the document showing that they have this, yes, you can do that. You can visit them.
Excellent. And let's talk about the prices, because that has been going around on social media. And you hear persons talking about how ridiculous the price is. I mean, even the Prime Minister would have indicated yesterday in his presentation that even the price that they are charging for the UK visa is quite ridiculous.
So I really focus on the standard visitor visa, which is $154. So after you completed the application, at the end, it would ask you to pay that fee with a credit card. All right. But what is even more, I find is a bit pricey, is the biometrics, which is $103. That is paid separately because that's for the center that they would be using. And then there are extra fees if you don't have someone to upload for you. There's an extra fee at the center in Trinidad where you can pay for them to upload your documentation for you. You can pay for them to do the photos and all of that. So yeah, it's a bit, but we try to work alongside what they give to us. But I'm going to tell you this application is so thorough that you cannot go forward unless you have the document or the information to go forward. Yeah?
Yeah, totally understood. But the visa price that you quoted there, that's for the standard, and the standard
That's
is
for
a
the standard, and
6-month visa.
yes, for 6 months.
Usually, you get a visa, it might be for 5 or 10 years, and you are able to stay 6 months at a time, right? As it pertains to this UK visa, how much months at a time can a person stay?
6
And,
months.
right, and what are the different prices? Because I saw online that you can have a visa for 6 months, and then if you want to go again, you have to apply for another visa.
Do you
for
want me
6
to
months.
mention the price for that visa, which is 2 years?
For all the visas.
Oh, actually, because I didn't do the research on the ones for 2 years, because when I do the dummy application, I more focus on the standard than the one for 2 years, because I know persons are not going to pay that price for the one for 2 years. It's basically close to about 4,000 TT dollars, and that still did not include the biometric fees.
Well, I mean, from what I'm seeing here, it's that that first one that you say is 54 US, but 115 pounds.
Well, yeah.
Right, and then you have one for 2 years, which is 432 pounds.
So when you convert that into US, it would be less, because that is what they're doing. For your credit card to read it, they're converting it in US. So in pounds, it seems big, but when they convert it in US, it's a little less.
Yeah, and then there is the 10-year
I know
visa.
a lot of Tobagonians.
That's 969 pounds.
I know a lot of Tobagonians would not, unless it's necessary, if you're a student, and as the business person you would have mentioned earlier on, if they're having business in the UK back and forth, they may pay for that, but I know a lot of person would, focus on the standard visa.
Yes, you have the student visas here for £490. I mean, by all means, it's a choice, I guess. But one of the things that I am also interested in knowing is if you are a European, you're a Trinidadian, Trinbagonian by birth, by citizenship, but you probably have residence in another European country. I know that there is the disparity between the UK and Europe after Brexit.
Right.
So I'm wondering if I am, let's say, for instance, a Dutch resident, if I'm able, with my Trinidad and Tobago passport, to just take a train, as we usually would do, and go over to London.
They would ask you for the visa.
So they won't take my resident card from the Netherlands.
I don't want to say what I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something that I didn't do my homework on, but I know for sure if you have to go anywhere around the London area or whatever, you need that visa.
With your passport.
With your passport from Trinidad and Tobago. And your passport must be more than 6 months valid. It can be less.
Understood.
Yeah.
Right. And so you are providing services that assist persons in filling out these applications. So can you tell persons how they can reach out to you if they are interested in
you can
getting
definitely
this
reach out to me on Facebook. You can message me on Facebook. You can reach out to me. Well, my number is on Facebook, actually. So you can call me or you can WhatsApp me, whichever one is convenient to whomever wants to apply for a UK visa. And I also encourage persons who are doing this visa to make sure and read, because it's a lot to read and a lot to, grasp in this whole UK visa. We have to be very careful of information that we share, because this is some serious business. Even at the end of the application, there is a consent that you have to sign, where even if you have the visa, they can detain you, they can, send you back to your country. So you have to be very careful. You have to be very truthful on the application form, and you have to give the information accurately.
I mean, not even a Schengen visa is so much.
I don't know.
And you can go to Malaysia, you can go to Dubai.
I know, but a lot of Tobagonians have family in the UK and the US. So,
with all these restrictions, you would think that the streets of London are paved with gold. But guys, if this is something that you are still interested in doing, from my perspective, if you don't have to.
But
and you don't need to,
I know. I
then
feel
we
it.
have to stand up as a people and take a stand that this
Because
is
look at it.
ridiculous.
Look at the ETA, the Electronic Travel Authorization. There were a lot of persons that I would have done, and they gave them a limited time to use the ETA, and persons, I mean, up to April the 23rd, I find it was a bit harsh
Right.
because persons are traveling after that period.
Right.
So now these persons who have a valid ETA cannot travel on it because they are traveling in August. So they would have applied to make sure that everything is prepared for them to travel to the UK. So I find that was a bit harsh because now they have to come and apply for a visa. You know, so yeah.
And moving forward, as it relates to persons who actually have a reason to, or a valid reason to seek asylum, do you think that this entire situation makes it harder for persons who have a real need?
Of course, it did make it harder for them because you see, persons like to abuse a system where it seems easy at that time, you know, so it would make it harder for the persons who genuinely needed that asylum, and now they can't because look at what is happening. 400 and how much, Mr. Martin said this morning?
Okay.
489 persons?
This 50 something.
50 something?
Yeah, around there.
I don't want
That
to
has
quote him
come
too
from
much,
Trinidad
but
and
coming from
Tobago
Trinidad and Tobago.
and applying for
So it would
asylum
make
in
it
the
very
UK.
hard for them.
But I mean, even when we look at it, a number of those persons are family members to a number of gang members, and who genuinely feel like their lives are in danger. But you have the ones that obviously are seeing it as a way out of Trinidad and Tobago and taking that route.
Yeah.
But genuinely, there are persons who are caught in the crossfire, the mothers, the sisters, the daughters of these gang members that genuinely are seeking refuge and an escape from the situation in Trinidad and Tobago. So my question would be, where do we find the balance between persons really wanting to, you know, get away, escape, find a way out, as opposed to the persons that are really abusing the system?
And then with all these restrictions and questions, I know a lot of persons, the requirements is not met for a lot of persons because they're asking you to give your savings in pounds, not in TT. All right, so I know they make it really hard for us Trinbagonians to travel to the UK when I went through this form about 15 times, you know, so it's going to be hard for persons seeking asylum to the UK at this time, especially with this visa restrictions and the requirements going forward.
I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, I believe it was maybe in 2018, I visited the UK on a European tour just to look at some universities and stuff. And to me, that would have broadened my perspective, opened my mind to what is out there, what is possible to achieve, and it was pretty accessible at the time. So to me, now putting those restrictions and those barriers to traveling to the UK, it restricts the potential for a number of young persons to really explore what opportunities are available outside of Trinidad and Tobago. It used to be that you just needed your passport and a ticket and you had a gateway to the world, right? But now there are barriers being put in place. And just as Mr. Martin George said, the punishment does not fit the crime.
It doesn't.
Right? When we look at the entire population of Trinidad, I mean, if you told me 10,000 Trinbagonians have landed in London, I would say, okay, that,
400 and something.
you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but we hope that the powers that be would do what is necessary. Now we have a new Prime Minister being installed today in the Honorable Stuart Young, and we are hoping that he, being the great negotiator that the Prime Minister boasts that he is able to have that conversation with the UK government.
Please.
And that something can come
I guess during the time, because with the Canadian visa, right, it was basically like this. And then during the time, things has been broken down, you know, less requirements, it's less tedious. But because it's something new that is being implemented, it has have a lot of information just flooding, and persons are getting a bit, frustrated. You're so accustomed going to a country for free, just freely go, and then all of a sudden all these restrictions and all these rules and regulations,
And then
consent and all of that.
I'm gonna say this, and this is my personal opinion and not the view of
Yeah, go
Tobago
ahead.
updates. It's never that serious.
It's never
It's
ever,
never
never
ever
ever,
that
ever that
serious.
serious. Yes.
There are countries within Europe that you do not need a visa for that is
Yes.
way more beautiful than
Yes.
England. I'm
Of
just
course.
saying, right? We have the application here. This is just some of the this is just a look at what that might look like. This is this I guess Jody, this is your mock-up
That's just a mock-up, yeah.
of what this is going to look like. And again, as she indicated, if you are not comfortable with your personal data being in the hands of you do not know who, be careful. Is it that serious? Do you really need to go? Because they are asking for a lot of personal information.
Correct.
Right? And so you can also check to see what their data usage policy is, as well as the terms and conditions. How long would they be storing your information? Are you able to, after the process is complete, whether you got through or not, can you reach out to the embassy and ask them to destroy your information? These are all things that you have the right to ask them to discard of your data so that they do not store it in their system for whatever reason that might be, right? So as long as you know your rights, that is all that is necessary. So you see we are on page 8 of 12.
Yeah, it's 12 pages.
Right? I mean, I've done a visa application for the US for myself and for other persons, and it has never been this.
Yes.
I mean, with the new president of the United States, it may come to this very soon.
I really hope not. I really hope not. But I know they're supposed to have some implementations in April. I want to see what that would look like. But they're starting
that's
bit by
another
bit.
conversation to have, as well
Yes.
as the US tries its best to crack down on illegal migrants.
Yes.
And I think that the whole visa and green card process has been started getting a bit more difficult for persons. But we sit down and we look on, and we are anticipating what those changes might look like for us here in the region. We even heard recently that there may be visa, not restriction, but somewhat of a pullback from the US as it pertains to countries within the region who have been doing business with Cuba and the Cuban doctors.
I've seen
And that
Barbados had that conversation.
that may cause a number of our dignitaries, their visas may be pulled, it may become invalid, and restrictions may be placed there. But we sit and we look on to see what's happening, and as it unfolds, we will be here and we will definitely be talking about it. Guys, we want to thank you so much for being a part of the discussion this morning, and I want to thank Mrs. Nimblett so much for being here this morning
You're
and
welcome.
telling us all about her services. Remember that she is still here and available to assist you with your US, UK, and Canadian visa applications. And I'm guessing if you're trying to get to Dubai, you might just be able to call her and get help with that as well, right? So again, we want to thank you so much for
You're
your
welcome. Thanks for
continued
having me.
service and allowing Tobagonians to get access to seeing the rest of the world.
Yes.
Guys, again, we want to thank you so much for being a part of this morning's discussion. Did you get a chance to look at that opening ceremony, that practical opening ceremony on Saturday? Let me know. Put it in the comments. And also, I have a question. So we have been hearing on social media persons weighing in on that practical opening ceremony. There are persons who felt as though the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly should have been respected enough to ask to make his contribution at that ceremony. There are persons that are on the other side of that argument, stating that, well, the relationship isn't a good one. Why would you ask someone to speak at your event that you are, not having a good relationship with. You don't know what to expect from them. What would they say? Would they embarrass you? Would they use it as an opportunity to show bold? And the conversation goes on and on. And I want to hear from you guys this morning, right before we go, as we go. What do you think? Do you think, for the sake of diplomacy and protocol, that the chief secretary should have been allowed to give his address at that event on Saturday? Guys, leave your comments in the comment section. Were you able to take a look at it, whether it was live or you were able to catch a couple clips from that opening ceremony? Do you think that the chief secretary should have been given the opportunity to contribute to that opening ceremony? Well, guys, that's it for us here this morning. Again, we want to thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Shenell Felix, and I'm going to see you again tomorrow. So have a great day.
It's a brand new